In the first grade or in the second grade, we all get the same prompt from our teacher. We get the question, what is your dream career? Not your dream job, your dream career. And some people knew the answer to that, some people didn't. Some people said that they wanted to be a scientist. And as they got older, they started to create that future for themselves by focusing on their STEM classes in elementary school, middle school, high school, and now in college. And they're doing great on their path. But for me, I wanted to be a pro basketball player. I wanted to play in the NBA. Now, I didn't care which team, I just wanted to be in the NBA. That was my dream since I was a child. And for so long, that had been my number one focus, besides school, of course. But in my senior year of high school, I realized that I was never going to be talented enough to play at next level. And that was crushing, that was shattering to me because for so long it had been my number one goal. Since elementary school, I had envisioned that I would go from high school to college and then get drafted to the NBA or something. Or maybe just get lucky enough to get drafted right out of high school. Not go to college at all. But obviously it's not what happened. But when that happened to me in high school, I was shattered. And the only thing that was able to pick me up after that was weight, ironically, right? Because like this lifted me up by me lifting it up, right? I had realized that I wanted to lift weights. That's what helped me get over that sense of helplessness and brought me into some sense of security for the future. Yeah. Anyone who's been through something similar can relate to this sense of helplessness after like failing something small or something large. For some people, a failure will be like an F on a test. For others, it'll be a life goal. For me, it was basketball. And while we still understand that there is still a large part of who we are beyond just this one goal that we have for ourselves, it still hurts, right? For me, it hurt at least. And even though, like, I knew that I was still a brother, a son, a nephew, or a friend to a bunch of other people, basketball felt something so central to who I was as an individual. So for a long time, I didn't know how I was gonna find myself after that. But the most important part that I learned from the whole experience is that it's not the losses that define who we are, right? Because before I found weightlifting, I was obviously really sad. I was down in the dumps, I was helpless, and I felt lost. And while it was important for me to take the time to reflect on who I was as a basketball player, at some point I had to face the future. Like, I couldn't be this down in the dumps person who didn't know what they were going to do for the rest of their lives. So I had to make a mental transition from like that sadness to what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, right? And for me, that mental transition, it took some time, no doubt. And once I moved away from that sad, helpless feeling and into that like empowered feeling, I was definitely more secure with who I was. And that led me to like a physical change. Not just thinking, okay, now I have to go do something. It was, this is what I'm gonna do. And for me, that physical change was literal. Literally picking up weights, getting stronger, lifting weights. And this cultural artifact of mine was definitely a monumental part of who I've become now, at least that's what I believe. Because during that time of reflection about who I was as a basketball player and what I was getting out of the sport, I realized that what made me so sad and like lost was that I felt that as much effort I put into working out or putting into basketball, I would get return on that. I thought that just by putting effort and all this time and energy into it, that I would get some sort of results from it. And that's not what happened. And that's when I realized that like maybe I could do that with lifting weights, which was really great for me because I mean, I've seen the effort that I put into the gym are the results that I get back out. I mean, of course that means I have to focus on my diet and the time to go to the gym and all that. But the amount of effort that I put into weightlifting fills the void that basketball left. And that's been a really big part of who I've become since high school ended, or at least high school basketball ended. It's been over a year since I played organized ball, and of course I still miss it sometimes, but I'm happy where I am now, and that's only come at the cost of a really long time of reflection and like action. And even though you feel like a failure at one point in your life doesn't mean that you're gonna stay there forever, right? You have to pick yourself up, and that's what life is all about. Even when you're feeling down, just remember that one day you'll have to make that mental shift and realize that you have to want to feel better for yourself at one point. And after being like so down for months, I made that shift and I was like, I need to do something that's gonna fill this void instead of just wallowing in my own self pity for so long. And yeah. Don't count yourself out right before you make it big, you know? Unlike gambling, you can do better for yourself as long as you keep trying. That's been my experience. And if there's one lesson that I've learned from this whole going from basketball to weightlifting, it's been that you can't count yourself out before other people do, right? Just have to keep trying.